Hello everybody, it says we're live. Okay, hello and welcome to my new video series, and this is kind of fun because I'm actually doing this from my first, if you follow me, you know that I'm making a big life change and I'm selling my condo and I'm going to be traveling all over the world and reinventing myself and doing all kinds of great things. So this is my first video from not my condo, not my office. I'm actually sitting in my bedroom in my sister's house. My sister's been kind enough to let me stay here while I get my act together and figure out where I'm going to go and do all that stuff. So I'm actually sitting on the bed in the bedroom. It's really, really cute and comfy, and I'm having a blast here. So, and with my brand new laptop that I'm going to be taking on the road with me. So it's really fun. I'm getting used to, I'm switching to completely digital. It's so funny because I'm so used to writing things down. I'm so used to paper. And so even now, I'm like, I feel like I want to grab something and write a note, but I know, okay, stop. Put it on your notes in your cell phone. Put it on, something. So it's really, I'm having an interesting time and actually a lot of fun making the switch and paring down all my belongings, and I'll do a video on that later when I've really sort of gotten to a point where I feel like I have some good information about paring everything down and living out of a suitcase and all that. So I'm in that process right now. So I apologize if this bounces around a little bit. It's actually like on two pillows on the bed. So anyway, I'm going to start these video series on Sundays, and they're just going to be a series of trainings that I'm going to just be releasing and just see how this works. So I did get a question this week about basically how do you organize with uncooperative family members, and I get this a lot. Usually one person will call me to organize and they want to get organized, and maybe the family does and maybe they don't, but the family's not all that interested in changing their routine, putting things away, becoming more disciplined, and this person that I'm working with is, but maybe you have a spouse or maybe you have children who are not like really on board and not really caring. And different people have different tolerances for clutter as well. So you may have a family member that has a higher clutter tolerance than you do, and it drives you crazy, and they're like, no big deal. So how do you deal with that? So I have a few little tips for you today. So I'm going to start with kids, because kids are a little bit easier to work with when it comes to this kind of thing, because when you have children, especially small children, as a parent, your role is to train them and to teach them, and so they're more teachable. And you can actually, as with a spouse, you can't really train a spouse, nor should you. But children are different. Children you can train and you can teach. So with children, I would say, especially small children, we'll start with small children. One thing I run into a lot is too much perfectionism and too much detail. You want them to put everything away in its little place, and they're just not going to do it. So the best way to get around that is to just give them really big, vague classifications. I love big baskets and big bins that fit under maybe a table, fit in a closet, fit behind a chair or something, that you just go, okay, you're done playing, put all your toys, dump them in the bin, and shove them in the little spot. Like, it's okay for all the toys to just be dumped in the bin and shoved in the spot, because next time they get the toys out, they're going to go digging through and finding what they want, and it's no big deal. So make your life easy, keep it simple, throw all the toys in a bin and shove it in the cupboard, and it's out of sight. It takes, minutes for a child to just pick everything up and throw it in the bin. It's super, super easy, and just everybody's life gets easier. So, and then with children, you can always use a reward system. If you pick up all this stuff and make it, the thing is too, I run across this a lot. Okay, so people go, and my parents did it to me, and they go, clean your room. And I remember as a kid, I didn't think these words in the front of my brain, but I remember I didn't know what to do. I mean, I didn't really understand what they wanted me to do. I understand the concept of a clean room versus a dirty room, but I didn't really know for how to do that. You know, as a child, they were just like, clean your room. They were just, your room's always dirty. Why don't you clean your room? And I'm like, I just, you know, if you can give your children some concrete steps, you know, instead of just clean your room, it's a very abstract thing, and children's brains aren't developed yet, and so abstract thinking is hard for them. So if you give them a very concrete set of tasks, pick up all your toys and put them in the basket, like, do that thing. You know, if you pick up all your toys and put them in the basket and make your bed and put all your dirty laundry in the hamper, you know, very concrete steps that they can follow, and just keep it really simple. Just a couple of things, 2 or 3 things, not, you know, a laundry list of things. It's too much. You know, for today, I want you to put all the things in the bin, and I want you to put all the dirty clothes in the laundry. Boom, done. Here's your reward. Once you do that, you can watch a half an hour of your favorite show, or I'll give you a treat, or you can use the Wi-Fi, or whatever it is. So that's kind of, you know, some things that I run into a lot is, you know, to recap, you know, parents will say, well, my kids don't keep their room clean. Well, guess what? Kids aren't going to keep their room clean. There are some children out there that do, but for the most part, they just don't. They just don't, you know, and it's okay. Their brain's not there yet. So, you know, kind of let go of the frustration and help them, give them concrete, easy to follow steps. And on the flip side, let go of the perfectionism. The room doesn't have to look like a museum, as long as, you know, they can function and there's aren't toys all over the place, you're not breaking your ankle, or, you know, any of that kind of stuff. So I think you know what I mean. You know, kind of take the middle road. It's okay, you know, loosen up a little bit, but, you know, also kind of have that baseline. And again, the reward system works great with kids, because it's something they can go, I can go A, B, C, and then I get this. And that's great for structure for children. So that's the kids. So now we're going to move on to the next point, which is the spouse, or the adult, another adult living in the house. It may be the spouse. It may be, you know, another type of relationship. So you can't really do that with adults. You can't train them. You can't use a reward system. You sort of can, but it has to be sneaky. But so how do you work with somebody who is already an adult and kind of has their own life, and honestly has the right to sort of live however they want, really? You know, you can't impose your standards on somebody like that. So this is a completely different sort of situation. So some of the things, when I find myself working with that situation, it really, really, really depends on the personalities that I'm working with. So it's a huge, huge difference working with different people. So some people are more than happy to cooperate, but they just don't know how. And the two adults haven't really sat down and hashed it out. You know, like, what are you doing, and what am I doing, and whose space is this, and this bothers me, but that doesn't bother you, so how are we gonna, you know, maybe this person doesn't realize that what they're doing is driving you crazy because you haven't told them. You know, so if you have that type of relationship with somebody that's very cooperative and communicative, then that's great, because then all you have to do is say, okay, here's what I need. I need a space to do X, Y, and Z. Like the question I got today was, you know, she runs an online business, the person that asked me, and she feels like she doesn't have a space of her own that's free from the clutter of her family, her husband, and her children, and she always feels this pressure, you know. So in that case, I would say, carve out your own space if you possibly can. You know, that's one thing that, you know, you can talk to your husband about and say, listen, I need a place where I can build my business and I can be creative and I can feel, you know, away from the pressure of this clutter in the house, which is a different issue. So, and I know that's easier said than done, depending on the house situation. And again, that's something that you just have to really work at until you find a solution that works for you. Whether that's taking the stuff that belongs to that other person and putting it. One thing that works really well in a lot of my clients is if people are just like leaving stuff all over the house, then as you are cleaning up, and I know this isn't really fair, but this is how it works. As you're cleaning up the house, you can take their stuff and put it in a bin or a basket with their name on it, or that you just know is theirs, and that makes it their responsibility again. So you just take all the stuff they leave out and put it in there and put it in their space and make it their responsibility, you know. And so that's one thing you can do. And I get a lot of, you know, well, my house isn't big enough for that. Well, okay, usually it is. Most people have, I know some people have, you know, 4 people in like 800 square feet, and that's pretty cramped. But most people have enough space, and it just comes down to using it creatively. And this is where I say, really, really, really think outside the box. We have all of these spaces in our society that's designated, and some really good examples are like the dining room. So a lot of people have the kitchen, which usually, ironically, doesn't have nearly enough space. Little kitchen with like a table where they eat, and then a whole separate dining room, which is really redundant, you know. And we have all these predefined spaces like the living room, and maybe you have a den and a living room. Like, what's the point of that? So really, or if you don't have all those things, you may have a hallway that's got some extra space. You may have a little corner somewhere. Really think outside the box and don't get caught into that trap of I don't have enough space. If you're, you know, one of maybe 90% of the people that I ever talk to, you probably have enough space. You just need to get really creative with how you use it. So find those little nooks and crannies. Toss all the preconceived notions out the window of what a room should be used for, and take a look at your family's needs, and what do I need, and what does he need, and what does she need, and take a real critical look at your space and see how can we carve out even just a corner, even just any, you know, or even just mentally, like if you have the capacity, if you're a busy mom, you know, trying to build your business online or whatever, if you have to, you know, if you can have your own laptop maybe, and I know that's an expense, but it's a possibility. If you can just have your own laptop, you can like, I'm going to go to Starbucks for 2 hours, and I'm going to just spend those 2 hours, or the library or whatever, or just lock yourself in, you know, bedroom or something. You don't have to like have the physical space if you can have the mental space where you can carve that time out for yourself, carve the space out for yourself, carve the environment out for yourself, and again, really creative. You don't have to have a dedicated office for this. You can just have, it's really in your mind. It really, really is. Whatever you can come up with that will give you that mental switch to have like, okay, to like the person that asked me the question, to get away from the feeling of always being in the clutter, which is a different issue that she's actually bringing into this question. You know, that's the family clutter versus the business. So in order for her to separate that in her mind, she's got to come up with some mental and or physical way to make that disconnect between the family's clutter, which is also something that needs to be worked on, and how do I carve out space and time for myself to work on my business. So that's sort of some ways that you can kind of deal with the adults in your life if you have different clutter tolerances, organizing philosophies, space needs. You know, something else I run into a lot with adults, and especially spouses, is expectations. You know, one says, well, the dishes should be put away this way, or the clothes should be folded just so because my mom folded it that way. Well, maybe his mom folded it a different way, and y'all have different ways of doing it, you know. And I invite you to really take a critical look at the way you do things and your expectations, and maybe kind of loosen up on your expectations. Like, as long as the clothes are clean and they don't look like they had a wrinkle bomb, is it okay for them to maybe be put away a different way than you're used to? You know, maybe start making some changes. You know, I fold things all kinds of every which way, and it just depends on what I take my items, and I've got my space, and I go, okay, how is this towel going to fit into this space? So if it's a bigger space, I'll fold a smaller space, I'll fold it 3-way, you know, tri-fold, or, you know, I don't have like one set way of doing things. And that allows me to go into different people's homes and organize and fold and put away in all these, in a myriad of different ways, because there is no right way to do it. The right way is Are you comfortable and are you not stressed out by your stuff? That's the right way. That's it. You know, just like using the space in your home. It's not the right way because your grandmother had it set up that way. The right way, the right use for your dining room or den or living room or bedroom or whatever is it work for your family? Are you maximizing your space? Are you using every square inch, you know, to and the ultimate goal is to make it work for you so that it is creatively engaging and not stressing you out, you know, and then it works. It makes your family's life easier. That's all you really care about, you know. It doesn't have to look. It's not like a page out of Sunset Magazine or something. It's just, you know, you can have the dining room be the homework zone. You know, put in bookshelves and containers for art supplies and stuff. You know, maybe eat in the kitchen or you know, whatever it is. So it really invites you to take a look at your expectations and the way you've done things and see what can I throw out the window and how can I totally think outside the box and make this happen for my family so that we're getting everything we need done and we don't feel the pressure of, quote, not enough space, which, again, usually I find isn't really the issue. It's how the space is being used. And again, you know, with adults, if you can, again, communicate what you need, find out what they need, find out what you need, sit down and put them in order of priority, do some negotiation and carve out that space, either physically, mentally, you know, with your intention. And the other thing is you're not going to get it right on the first try. You're just not. People ask, you know, oh, well, you come and organize me and then I'll never have to touch it again. Guess what? You got to keep, you're going to probably have to keep tweaking this a bunch of times until, you know, you figure out what you want. And then life will change and you'll have to tweak it again. So it's kind of like get rid of that notion that you're going to just organize once and then you don't have to do this anymore. Like life changes. Life, that's what it does. It changes forever. It's never going to stop changing. So, you know, that gets reflected in your stuff. You know, you're gonna start this negotiation. You're gonna really find something that works for you, and it's gonna be great. You're gonna try some different things. You're gonna have to tweak it a little bit, and then you'll hit on something, and then that might work for 6 months or a year, and then something in your life will change, and you're gonna have to change it again, and that's okay. So I really invite you to take on the mindset of always evaluating your stuff. And this isn't something that takes a lot of time. This is just something that I do, as you know, in the natural course of my day. When I see something that can be improved, I make a note of it, and I come up with an idea of how I can improve it. And it might work, and it might not. And it's just sort of this constant thing that I do, and it's so second nature to me now that it really doesn't even interfere with my life. It's just like, oh, you know, I put, like, just with this whole moving thing, you know, I'm having to make a lot of changes to how I do things, where before I would keep my ideas in a notebook. Well, I'm trying to get away from paper completely. So when I get an idea, I've got a little notepad on my phone. So I whip out my phone and I put it on the notepad. You know, instead of having a binder full of contacts, I'm using Evernote. You know, every time I talk to somebody on the phone, I make a note in Evernote so that, you know, I can remember what we talked about last time, things like that. So again, it's all sort of mental, and, you know, looking at what you're doing critically and always looking for the improvement, and you know, and just being really creative and really open-minded with the people around you and the people that you love to find a solution that works for everybody, and also letting go of perfectionism and the way things have been done for so long that really, you know, it's a new day, it's a new time, and you really need to just do what works for your family. So I hope that all made sense. I hope you got some good ideas, and, you know, if you have a situation that you are in that you're having a problem solving as far as organizationally, if you have a family member that you're having trouble negotiating that time and space with, please feel free to ask me a question. You can find me here on Google. You can find me on Facebook. You can find my website, Suzanne Abernathy, professional organizer. You know, send me a message and ask me your question. I'd be happy to answer it. Hope you've enjoyed this training, and stay tuned for the next one, and have a fabulous week. Goodbye.